So good afternoon, Ursula. Today we have Ursula Rothamel from Germany, who is a coach using the Gupta method, and she has her own personal story, and she healed with the Gupta method, which is basically a mind-body approach to healing, which she will tell us a bit more later. But Ursula, thank you for coming, and let us just delve into your personal story. Can you tell us how it all started?
Yeah. I was having an extended period of a lot of stress in my life, as often happens.
Yes.
And I used to be a single mother for many years, and I tried to make some professional progress as well, because I needed to earn the money. And then I had found a man, and eventually I got an invitation to work on the island of Malta in the Mediterranean.
Oh.
In a restoration institute. And I accepted that job, and my family agreed that we would move together to Malta, and my husband would have a job there as well. Mm-hmm. But organizing this move with a family household and everything that's related, it was just a lot of stress. And I had this teaching role in this institute in Malta, and it was absolutely new for me. I had no experience in teaching, and there was no material. I had to prepare everything from scratch, and it was just such an overload. And maybe only 5 weeks into the time when I had started working there, I was struck by a pain in my bladder, which I knew I had had several times before, but it was just out of the blue. There was no cold, there was nothing.
What was it? This pain? UTI, like infection in the bladder?
It was the pain like an infection in the bladder, but there was no obvious reason why I should have it in that moment. I was not swimming or having a cold or anything. And I knew I will need a doctor, and I was new in that country. I had no doctor so far, but then I found one, and he diagnosed bladder infection. I got a week of antibiotics, and I took the antibiotics. The bladder got better, but I got a pain in my whole body, which then remained, which just didn't go away anymore.
I see.
And I was very exhausted, and I felt I had to continue, because with that job in Malta, there was also nobody to replace me. My specialty was there was no one else to give those lectures.
Yes.
So I continued. I tried to move on, and carried on for a couple of months with the pain, and until on a certain day, I decided I just cannot do it anymore. And I told them, people, I'm going to stay home. I'm sick. I don't know what's going to happen. And I went to bed, and I stayed in bed for maybe 2 months.
Wow.
And I have hardly any memory of that phase. Must be that my husband and my son brought me food, but I don't remember even that.
Yes.
So, and then I gradually...
What was the diagnosis?
Fibromyalgia, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And but the doctor, or it started like this. This doctor who had treated me for this bladder pain, he was writing me certificates for my employer, 6 certificates, and he had to give a diagnosis on there. And he wrote fibromyalgia, but without saying a word what that would be. So for me, it was just a word.
How old were you?
How old I was? at that time, 48.
Oh, young. So can you describe what were the symptoms? Like, can you describe a day in your life back then?
Yeah.
What were the sensations?
I just felt very exhausted all the time. So I was in the morning waking up, I felt so tired that you normally would say, I need to go to bed. And over the day in the evening, I was so tired, I would lie down on the floor and cry.
So extreme fatigue.
Extreme fatigue, plus I had these flu-like symptoms in my whole body.
So aches,
pain? A pain in the body, like if you're just starting to get the flu.
Was it in the muscles, in the fascia, in the...
Yeah.
The joints were painful too?
Not particularly, but the muscles and the soft tissue.
Yes,
yeah.
So
that were my main.
What did you try? What kind of treatment did you try?
Look, at that time, I tried no treatment at all. I tried to finish that state of staying only in bed. I crawled out, and I was thinking about what did help me in the past, what could I do? And I thought I need to go out and start walking. So I started doing little walks outside the house, and then I extended, and it worked. And I did more of that, and I was getting a bit better, but only till a certain level. Then I felt I can maybe try to go back to my work, but only part-time. So I told my employer, I will try and come back with 50%. That's better than nothing, and they accepted. And
can you describe, many times fibromyalgia is connected to some personality traits, like perfection.
I had no clue of anything of that at that time. When I had been sick for 1 year, the employer asked me, we want a second medical opinion. So I went to another doctor, and he wanted to send me to a psychiatrist. And I got very angry because I felt I'm fully motivated. This is not psychical, but just my body hurts all over. Yeah?
Right.
And then instead he sent me to a rheumatologist.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first rheumatologist in Malta, professor. And he had heard of fibromyalgia. And he had even a sort of a leaflet, informational leaflet on that. And he made me read that, and some things I would feel addressed. And then he said, yeah, so I will write that you have fibromyalgia, and I will write to your employer that nothing can be done, that this is incurable. And all I can offer you is some painkillers.
Did you take painkillers back then?
I tried maybe for a week, and then I said, this kills my pain at 10%, and the 90% is still there, so it's not worth it.
That's right.
So I stopped after.
Can I ask you, how much time did this misery last?
In total, over 4 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
and
do you remember one time when you were in the pit, really very low? An event that you felt very depressed or very...
Once I took a time off, and I had a small van where I could sleep inside. So I took that van from Malta to Sicily, which is 2 hours. And just to be all on my own and to recover, to see nobody, not even talk to my family. And it was bad weather, and I was in the city of Syracuse, and I went into a bookshop. And in that bookshop, I screened all the books, and I came into this esoteric corner of the bookshop, and I found books of this guru Osho.
Yes.
And there I found a book which this was all Italian translations, and but this Italian title of that book was Restarting from Oneself. And that appealed to me because no doctor could help me. I could only restart from myself.
Yes.
So I got that book of Osho, who I had heard the name, but I had never read anything of that guy. And I got that book and I read it, and I read it even twice, and it gave me some help to survive better in my situation.
Yes, it's not a book about healing.
It's in the original title is of course in English, so we can maybe name it here. It's called. Oh, what's this? Oh, I don't remember the original name, because afterwards I was searching the German translation, which was a very strange title, which I would never bought. But he gave me a bit of this Indian idea of focusing on yourself, finding peace, finding calm in yourself.
Wow, this is like a point that changed the direction of the plot. Like, was it?
At least it helped me not to drown completely. So to stabilize myself on a low level, but stabilize myself so that I wouldn't go further down.
So when did you start to see a change in the vector?
Yeah, after 4 years of working at that institute, my contract finished, and I could stay at home unemployed in Malta. So I said, this is my chance. I can live a life without any stress. So maybe this will help me. That was my hope.
Yes.
And I lived in the state, only staying at home, unemployed, for half a year. And that was also because my son was short before his maturity exam. So he couldn't leave the island. He needed to finish school over there.
Yes.
And but after 6 months, I observed that nothing had improved, not even with a life without any stress.
So in this time you were improving.
I was sorry, I didn't.
In this time that you took for yourself, to calm yourself,
it just staying at home and calming myself did not change anything. So this basic state of pain in my whole body and the tiredness, it just stayed the same.
I see. So what was the turning point?
The turning point was while I was staying at home, I could at least start looking a bit around on the internet for some ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered an American website with some advice on. Meanwhile, I had discovered this name of chronic fatigue syndrome on a British woman's magazine. And then on this American website, I discovered a small commercial advert titled Freedom from CFS.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, yeah, but that's what I'm looking for, freedom from CFS.
Right.
So I followed the link, and I found Asha Gupta's program, which had been launched maybe 3 months earlier. It was very new at that time. And without much thinking, I ordered that.
He's in England or
He's in England. He is his family is from India.
Yes.
But his parents moved to England, so he was born and raised in England. And
so how did you do the program? Did you travel to England or you did it online?
No. His program is he formulated as a home study course. So it was a series of lectures on DVDs. So I could order this pack with DVDs plus an accompanying book. And then I just followed the instructions on the DVDs and read the accompanying book and did everything that was suggested. And yeah, I noticed it helped.
Can you give some examples, for example, to the exercises, to the practice?
The practice consists of various parts. So there is a breathing exercise, there are various guided meditations, and the core part is he set up a hypothesis of the actual origin of the of this kind of condition, which he says is in the amygdala, which is part of the limbic system in our brain. And he says it's important to calm down this amygdala, which has gotten chronically hyper-aroused, and it won't calm down on its own, not even with resting a lot. And this was a discovery that American brain researchers had made. So this was scientifically proven that the amygdala can get hyper-aroused and won't calm down.
Educate us. How do you calm the amygdala and insula? Do it actively?
You need to start observing your thoughts. And obviously, when you have such a condition, you've been ill for so many years, you more and more get worrying thoughts. What will become of me? Will I ever get better? Oh, this is all hopeless, etc. But with this kind, and then all these disappointments that doctors cannot help you, and all these diagnoses of being incurable, this all contributes to, yeah, being more and more negative in your brain.
So when you catch the negative thought, that is, and you know what, it's not the right phrase, negative, the worry. When you catch the worry or the or the soul or the anger, what do you tell yourself?
It's just we can imagine that with every worry, the amygdala gets more into the more excited, because it tries to protect us from all the danger, because if we worry, we feel we're in danger.
Right.
And so you need just to learn to replace all these worries by at least by acceptance. That's the minimum. I accept the way I am right now. That's not resignation, and that's already much better than worrying.
Yes. Okay. And if someone is feeling that he's faking it because he's not really accepting it, he's resisting it,
then it won't work. Then it won't work. That's what I'm experiencing as a coach now, because that's why people come consulting me. That I help them to how to accept and how to do this thing properly.
Okay, so you are recognizing the thought.
Yeah.
You are replacing it with acceptance.
Yeah.
And if you are a diligent student, maybe with a positive thought.
Yes, as well, yeah.
With a hopeful thought, or
even with the confidence, I can get better, I can recover, because and in the meanwhile, it's getting better and better, because now we can say so many people have recovered already with this method.
Yeah, why not me? Why?
Yeah.
So Ursula, after you are doing this process of catching the thought and replacing it let's say with acceptance, what else?
What else is not to stay thinking all the time of your illness, but to divert your mind to nice things, positive things, things that you love looking at or love doing if you can, filling your time with positive things. And so that you fill your brain with something else than worrying.
And other methods that in the program, like you said, breathing, and how do you activate the vagus nerve?
The vagus nerve is not really addressed. I mean, it may implicitly play a role, but we don't address the vagus nerve actively. Doesn't seem to be necessary.
So can you portray for people who don't know what is the Gupta program, the Gupta method? Once you catch the thinking and you watch it, you witness it, and you replace it with acceptance,
yeah,
or replace it with a positive and distract yourself from the illness with things.
Yeah.
What else do you do?
Nothing. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And do this consistently with all the thoughts. And the art consists in discovering all the thoughts, because some of them are very subtle. They're not even very conscious.
Like what? Can you give us an example of a thinking pattern which is insidious, that it is sneaky?
For example, this fear of never getting better. Over the years, when you have been sick for a couple of years and you have seen various doctors who all told you the same, this is incurable, then your subconscious learns, I'm incurably ill, and it won't let go of this conviction.
That's right. Okay. So this was the turning point for you. So after you started to practice this,
yeah,
how soon did you notice a change?
I noticed a change rather soon. And one point is also that Gupta calls this re-engaging with joy. So finding joy is even though you're sick, is important. I mean, it's well known elsewhere in complementary medicine that joy and laughter is helping. And my thought from the very beginning, because I was angry at those doctors who had all told me I'm incurably ill, and I got this idea of I'm going to demonstrate you the contrary. And I got a sort of an advanced joy of demonstrating proving them wrong.
Nice. So
this gave me a strange joy, but obviously this helped me to make a pretty fast recovery.
What about imagination, visualization techniques? Do you use it in the Gupta method?
Yes, you can visualize recovering, visualize being healthy again. Just visualizing what you think life could be if you were recovered. I mean, everybody has this wish, so everybody can also develop these pictures.
And from your experience, it's effective?
Yes.
So let's talk about the healing process now, because you are also a coach. So you mentioned acceptance. What is the role of acceptance how accepting the situation as is, accepting your condition without resisting it, really fully radical acceptance, how does this contribute to healing?
So in the picture of this Gupta hypothesis, which says the origin of the illness is this hyperaroused amygdala, it's, as I almost already said, every worry, everything negative, everything fearful stimulates the amygdala because it tries to protect us. And if I accept my situation, I do not convey to this amygdala that I'm in danger. So the amygdala does not see a reason to trigger stress hormones, for example, because the chronic stress or the chronically hyperaroused amygdala makes us produce and release stress hormones at a level which a body cannot tolerate.
That's right.
Stress hormones are there for the imminent danger to make us fight or flight.
Yes.
Fight or flee. But if we continually release stress hormones, this will make the body sick.
Yes, it's an overload of.
Yeah, so we have at all costs to try and get out of this position of hyperarousal and of fear and of negativity in order to stop this overflow of stress hormones, which make the body sick.
So in your practice, when a patient comes, because you know you're talking, it sounds to me a little bit abstract, because if someone is in pain, in chronic pain,
yeah,
and misery, and if he is honest with himself, he cannot accept his situation. If he is loyal to his true nature and his true emotions, he is resisting it. Then he is doing.
That's the, yeah. Well, you're pointing exactly at one of the crucial points in recovering with this concept.
So how do you help people accept the situation?
There is one special meditation in the Gupta program. It's also a meditation, but it's very special. And you don't meditate on your breath or on some mantra or something, but you meditate on your sensation of pain. And you just observe it. And it's really the Indian wisdom brought into action.
Like even intensify the sensation in your feel it even more intensified. Really feel the pain, the sensation in the body.
No, it's not about intensifying it. It's about feeling it the way it is, but without the negative reaction that we normally have to it, but just observing it. Okay. Like I was an observer of some happening which is not mine.
And from your own experience, what happens when you just witness it without the judgment, without the emotional load?
If you do that long enough, the pain will decrease.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I ask you, is the Gupta method good for other conditions, because it is associated with CFS, maybe depression because of the condition, and maybe anxiety, and you know the.
Look, we know that every pain sensation is processed by our brain. Every pain perception is processed by our brain. So if my joint hurts,
yes,
there is a signal coming from this joint to the brain that there's something wrong. But the actual intensity of the pain is created by the brain from that signal.
So how do you?
And it will. No, let me explain. And the intensity, how we sense this pain, is influenced by our beliefs about the pain, what meaning we give it.
Oh.
So our thoughts about this pain are integrated in the sensation, how it's finally produced, so that we perceive it.
I understand.
That is known by neurology.
So this is fascinating, because we do develop relationship with our pain, especially chronic pain sufferers.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So how it is different for you now? Suppose you are developing a beginning of a new sensation, which is a pain, actually, a sensation.
Yeah. So
how did your relationship to pain change now?
I mean, the basic interest stays the same, which is to end that state of pain, to get rid of that pain. That stays absolutely the same. But now I know how to do it. Firstly, I need to relax. I need to take the stress away from myself. So if I'm in a situation of much work pressure or something, I know I have to stop. I have to say no to my boss. I have to pause. That's one thing. And the other thing is I need to meditate. I really need to calm down, or do some breathing exercises. And today I know I can within maybe an hour I can overcome such a situation, which before lasted weeks or months.
So you mentioned the inner self-talk. What I am hearing is that you are talking about the inner self-talk and the role of language in the healing process, the inner language that we use. You know that Plato said that, I think it is a saying related to Plato, that we are constantly talking to ourselves by thinking. So can you say something about language and healing, inner language, the terminology that we use? Because I think thoughts are made of words.
That's right. That's right. I'm not so much used to think just in language, but this inner self-talk, it often consists of statements where we explain to ourselves the meaning that something has. And so we need to take a look at what meaning we have given things. And most of the time for chronic sufferers, these meanings are very negative. And mostly, if we're not informed otherwise, we think that's the only way to see things. But this is not so, and that's also where we might need help, either from something like the Gupta program or from a person who knows that there can be different approaches or attitudes or manners to see something, and to become more flexible in the mind, that we don't say, no, the way I see it is the only way.
So can you give me an example for this? And let's take it in the context of pain. The meaning that we give to pain, to disability, to losing range of motion, losing freedom, losing power, strength. Maybe from your practice, how
basically, what we think this pain is limiting my freedom, is impeding me to live the life I would want to, and all these things. But we can also say life has got its own laws, and life is wants me to develop further at this point.
Yes.
Life wants me to change my opinions. Life wants me to learn how, to find the way how to cooperate better with life.
To engage better with life. Yes.
To engage could be that you say, I'm sick, I cannot. No, to cooperate is that with your thinking, you're more in line with life.
So, you know, but it is like, it sounds like preaching. And when you come to someone with pain, with excruciating pain, and with depression, and you tell him, change the meaning that you give pain, change the meaning that you give disability, change.
That's too big a step. You can't do it in such with such an order. Of course not. You can start by doing those exercises and following. Believe me, I have such clients who have tremendous trouble in making this switch.
Yes.
And I'm collecting all the materials, all the arguments which I have in favor, and in the end, it's a choice of the client if he accepts to try, to seriously try. And I mean, often this state of pain, this pressure of this illness helps someone to enter into this experiment. And then when they notice, oh, it makes a change, then they get more willing.
That's right, because they get motivation. But what do you think is blocking the other people from like walking on
their mind, their beliefs, their ego, it's actually the ego, and it's the way that the old Indian, the Vedic gurus understood the brain. It's actually like that, and it's a.
But this is exactly what you are trying to help them change.
Yeah. So because there's no other way. I mean, we have all tried that. There's no medicine for a cure. So people have some motivation to enter into trying this.
So in order to make the amygdala and insula lessen the excitement and get calmer and be less activated, you need to develop a sense of safety under your skin, to feel safe, to feel I'm okay. How do you help your clients, or what is your advice? How can one cultivate a sense of safety
by coming into the present moment? Because most of us in the present moment, we're safe. As long as we have a safe room around us, I'm sitting here on a safe chair, so I have every reason to feel safe. So all this sense of not being safe is memories of the past.
Yes.
So we need to admit right now I'm safe. And this is true in most of the moments.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in the Gupta method, there are techniques how to arrive to the present moment, how to land in the present moment.
Yeah, I mean, meditation and breathing exercises is exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there are many other means. We just have to take and use these.
Yeah, so the discipline and being disciplined and doing this consistently is a key, right?
Yes, some discipline is required, that's right. And otherwise, this issue of safety, it really depends a lot on the personal background of somebody, on the personal history.
So many people have traumas, like you mentioned. You have been in a lot of stress, and
yeah. So that there is, yes, and then yeah, one has to search either with the means that the Gupta program offers, or one may as well search a trauma therapist and try to solve that separately.
So if you had to instill one insight from your wisdom and experience, and an experience as helping other people heal with this mind body approach, what would you tell a chronic pain sufferer or someone with a chronic condition that he feels he's doomed, that he feels that he will have to live with this to the rest of his life? What would you tell him as a piece of advice?
I think it's never life's intention to make us suffer for the rest of our lives. And if we explore how life is meant, this will help us find our way to recover.
Is there any book beside the book of Ashok Gupta that
yes, there is a book which I can recommend. That's of it's, by the way, a Jewish author. It's Gabor Mate. I don't know if you've heard of him.
The body keeps the score?
No, The Body Keeps the Score is a Dutch author. That's Bessel van der Kolk.
Yeah. So
no, Gabor Mate is, he emigrated with his family to Canada. He's in Vancouver. And he's written a book, When the Body Says No. And this is a book of maybe 12 chapters, where in each chapter he discusses one type of chronic condition. So there is chronic fatigue, there is autoimmune, there is cancer, there is ALS, all kinds of chronic conditions that normal medicine will tell you nothing can be done.
right.
And in his lifelong experience as a medical doctor and in his knowledge about the brain as well, he understands and he explains how all of these conditions can be related back to chronic stress.
So why do you like this book?
Sorry?
What was about this book that you liked?
This tremendous overview, which I find exactly the right thing. And so for me, this book is giving a bigger framework where the Gupta program fits in as one precise piece.
Yes. So
and the framework, it's this new direction of medicine, which is called psychoimmunoneurology.
yeah, it's the combination of immunology, psychology, and physiology.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where Gabor Mate stands for. And he explains how all of these chronic conditions need to be seen in this light.
Can you take us into your brain and show us what is going there now when some symptom is starting to emerge? Once, so even if it is a simple symptom like a headache or
I from my experience, as soon as I realize there's something building up,
yes,
or it crosses the threshold of my consciousness,
yes,
I immediately realize there's somewhere a fear building up. So I can ask myself, what is this fear? Which part of me is fearing what right now? And maybe it's a task, something upcoming, which is fearful because it seems rather big or so.
Yes.
Or it's this fear of not finishing in time with the deadline.
Yes.
And as soon as I identify that fear, I know I need to transform that. So I either need to release it by changing an appointment or changing a deadline, or by reducing the task, or reducing the task only in my perspective. Maybe I'm seeing it too big. Maybe it's not that big. I'm exaggerating it in my mind. I can make it smaller and reduce the fear. And if that is not enough, then I need to take some time out and give myself a rest, give myself time to meditate. And then I will fix it like that.
Uh-huh. So you are like trying to metabolize the emotion behind to process the emotion behind the symptom.
Yeah, you can say it like that, yes.
Wow, this is fascinating. Ursula, thank you so much for sharing all this. Last question, is the Gupta method, from your experience, can help other conditions, like you mentioned, the autoimmune issues or degenerative diseases, osteoarthritis?
So especially this book of Gabor Mate makes me confident, because he explains autoimmune diseases on the same lines as the chronic fatigue. It's just one step more, but it's on the same line of brain processes. So I'm very confident that this will help somebody with an autoimmune condition as well. And those degenerative conditions, there we have to look at that medicine is telling us something that's not fully true.
Okay.
The pain and the condition is not about degeneration of something because of we overused it. And there are now those people who are dealing with the joints and the bones, how they're called, the orthopedics.
Yes.
There are some who I know one in Germany who explains that this pain does not come from having overused a joint, but rather from underusing it. And so there's not enough blood circulation, and there's not enough nutrition there. And so there are methods to overcome that. And the Gupta program can always be a helpful part in such a recovery. Maybe in the case of joint conditions, you need to work on that specifically as well. But the mental part is very well covered by the Gupta program.
Yeah, I understand that. So when you mentioned the degenerative disease and the German doctor, so what you would advise for people with degenerative issues, and it makes sense that it is not.
I cannot name you someone in English, but I'm sure these people exist as well. So it's just a matter of searching for those doctors who explain to you how it can be healed, and that it's not, because this explanation of degenerative is verdictive. It's, you can't change it anymore, and that's just not nature. It's just wrong.
Yeah, we see flowers wilt, so we say it's the wear and tear. It's the
yeah, but that's not the true comparison. Yeah, if you have a person 90 years of age, then yes, I would say, but then this person has lived their life.
So do you remember what this doctor is saying about how to nourish the place, how to, let's say
by movement, by specific so there is this guy, he's not even a doctor, he's married to a doctor, and he is a mechanics engineer who married a doctor. And then he saw from the work of his wife that he found these explanations very little scientific. And he adopted his engineering thinking to these problems. And he came up with fantastic solutions. And YouTube is full of free videos. Unfortunately, they're in German.
What's his name?
So the couple, they have two names. They're called Liebscher und Bracht. And he's Liebscher and his wife is Petra Bracht. Mm-hmm. So if you Google for Liebscher and Bracht, mm-hmm. You will find them. And he has exercises for pains in all parts of the body.
And did you see people who healed with his method? Did you see like people?
No, because I mean, this is not actually my field of expertise, but I have tried examples from it when I had some pain in some point, and I applied his method, and it worked. Nice,
very nice, and it makes sense because when we have pain from osteoarthritis, we don't move it. It is stagnated. So he's saying actually almost ignore the pain or work with the pain and still work the joint or
and he explains how this pain comes into being. There is some defect at that point, but it's not from overuse but from underuse, and at the moment it starts hurting, you stop moving it and it's getting worse and worse.
I see what you mean.
Unfortunately, people have to work to do that. And it's more work than taking a pill.
Of course, and it is painful, probably.
Can also be painful, yes.
Okay, wow. This is very good news because you brought also the physical part, not only the mental approach, but...
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense to me that this is a mechanical engineer who invented that. And he's always in discussion with his wife, who's the doctor. So
it also reminds me what you told us before about that you decided to walk when the fibromyalgia started, mm-hmm. the island. So walking was actually moving the fascia and
and moving the entire body, moving the entire circulation, and so exchange of materials in the body.
According this engineer, when there is already damage done because it is hurting, is these kind of so-called degenerative issues, they are reversible?
Yes, if it's not too bad, yes.
Wow. Does he also refer to things like chronic tendonitis or fascia issues, adhesions, things like this?
Yes, he does.
That's interesting. Wow. Thank you so much for the knowledge that you share, for your sharing your story. I think many people can relate to this, to that point in life that you have been in, and how you find the way. But you had discipline, right? You had
yeah. And somehow I did not believe this message of the doctors that I would be incurably ill. I didn't have a different answer for 4 or 5 years. So I lived with this diagnosis, but I didn't embrace it. I didn't start thinking, oh my God, I'm incurably ill. I kept it at a distance. I don't know. Maybe what helped me is that my own mother had been chronically ill from when I was 5. So I grew up with a mother who was chronically ill, and doctors couldn't help her. So I already knew that state. So it didn't surprise me very much.
That's right. And wow, thank you for sharing. So I am amazed now by you, because when you talk, you seem someone who is living with a lot in the head, like you have a very analytical mind, and you are a thinker. You are someone who thinks. So usually people who are in their heads, they are also more prone to fear, to anxiety, and they nevertheless, and to doubt, and nevertheless you
That's right, yeah.
doubted the doctors, and you saw your issues for 4 years, and yet you challenged it.
Yes.
Like
yes.
the analytical mind, the rational mind, the linear mind would have told you, probably I am doomed, and this cannot be.
Yeah, and what comes into play here is very much an attitude that you start developing when you're very small. So I had this mother who was fearful and who was chronically ill for so many years, but my father was a positive person. So I think I took this rational mind from my father, and also the optimism. And I mean, not everybody is this lucky. If you have two more negative parents, then what can you do? It's also not your fault.
Usually women tend to doom and gloom, while men are more optimistic. It's the testosterone thing.
Yeah, I think it was, on the other hand, it was also a problem with me that I developed a lot of male traits, orienting fully to my father, because my mother wasn't a good role model.
You had to survive, of course.
Yeah.
You had to be strong, and
yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you've seen, I mentioned it on the Gupta website. I studied physics after school.
Yes,
so that that trained an analytic mind as well.
So the masculinity that many women develop in our world is sometimes it's not even a choice. It is the circumstances of life that drive women to toughen up, and
it's the professional world that requires it.
And also life itself, not only the you know.
I'm not sure. I think it's this patriarchic and male-dominated world that requires women to develop in that direction.
Do you feel it contributed to the disease, like when you are not balanced between the masculinity and femininity?
Definitely. I think it contributed to why I fell ill in the first place.
Because, you know, fibromyalgia and joint pain, stiffness in the joints, they are all, you know, it's a symbol of masculinity, not the softness of...
Yeah, no, it does play a role at that point why I fell sick in the first place.
Yeah. I'm happy for you that you healed completely, and now you are conveying the message of hope to others. Thank you.
Yeah, my life took a turn that I could never have planned or expected.
How soon it was? You said it was pretty soon. How many weeks it took to see a dramatic change? When you
maybe 6 weeks.
Wow, this is quick. And at the beginning, you know, many people are getting discouraged when in the first 2-3 days a week, 2 weeks, they don't see a change. Did you notice hints?
What I noticed almost immediately, and that many people do, that is that when you get to know the amygdala hypothesis, so Gupta's explanation of the whole process, that you get a feeling of, yes, that's it. Finally, I feel understood.
Yes.
And that is a relief, and that can already induce some first improvement.
Yeah, I felt the same. I saw the graph that is showing with all the arrows, how it is perpetuating, how it is a vicious cycle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it felt right. So thank you again, Ursula, and I wish you all the best, joy and health in the rest of
Thank you.
journey.
I hope this will inspire people to develop more trust and find also their way to healing.
Yes, because many think it is a woo-woo stuff, that it is airy-fairy kind of...
Yeah, but the reason behind that is that our view of the world is outdated. This materialist worldview is not what it really is, because even physics discovered how much is the role of our mind. And that was discovered more than 100 years ago, and it is still not public knowledge.
Do you relate to the quantum physics? To the...
Yes. Quantum physics observed that when you're in this quantum realm, so in the realm of the very small particles, and you do a physical experiment, there are experiments where the outcome of the experiment will be influenced by the intention and the expectation of the experimenter.
Is it science, or is there an...
That is science, yes.
Oh, I know, but is there a scientific explanation, or is it considered some mystic?
That is the point where physics, as we traditionally understood it in the past centuries,
yes,
came to its limits, and all the big physicists from that time, be it Niels Bohr or Heisenberg or Schrödinger,
yes.
They all felt that the approach with what they were working till here, they could not continue like that. It was a limit. So this world is more than our mechanistic worldview. The mechanistic worldview works in a certain range of sizes, from rather big to rather small, but beyond that, other laws obviously apply. And it's human ignorance, and it's human, how do you say, hybris, to think that we must be able to explain everything. But the world is bigger than the human mind.
Wow. Yes, there are all the, you know, the experiments with the pendulum, that you can change the pendulum with your thinking. This is not microparticles, but yet
I don't know about that, but yes, there must be these things. I did not delve very much into these, but
actually, what you are saying, that the human mind is part of the divine. Actually, it's something we have powers beyond what we imagine in this box.
Yeah.
You know, there is someone, you remind me of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is talking a lot about the quantum physics healing, and to many people it sounds, as I said, the woo stuff, a wishful thinking, because we all want to feel a sense of control, and when you come to a suffering human being and tell them that they have power with their mind, of course they will buy it, because they need to cling to some hope. But this is why it is important for me to hear it from you because you said you were a physicist before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's your take on Dr. Joe Dispenza's work?
I think Dr. Joe Dispenza takes an approach basically on the same things with slightly different methods, but yeah, the background and the foundation is the same.
So you mentioned acceptance. He mentions surrendering to the.
Yes, Gupta speaks also about surrendering. So they're not different there.
Do you see this idea, this concept of dropping everything also in physics? Is it a universal law that when you don't care anymore about something, then it is changing?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's universal.
I think the difference between what you are practicing and what he's doing, Dispenza is doing, is that he takes it to the mystery realms and to the fairies world, let's say,
Yeah, but not only, he's also doing a lot of brain research in the laboratory with patients with the electrodes on the brain.
I know, but you take it more to you try to explain things more psychologically, like you're talking about the amygdala, the insula, the limbic system, activating when you talk to someone in words of psychology, he can more relate to it than
yeah. Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza, it's an own world to follow him for healing. And what I can tell you is when I discovered him and I got a book and started reading, of course, I was excited to see the parallels to what I was doing. And at that time, I had a client and I spoke to him about what I was just discovering.
yes.
And this client got a book of Joe Dispenza himself, and he started reading and he started to apply Dispenza's methods, Dispenza's meditations maybe, mainly.
Yes.
And after 6 weeks, he told me, I don't need your Gupta coaching anymore. I'm almost recovered with Joe Dispenza.
What did he suffer of? Do you remember?
Chronic fatigue syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But for him, obviously, this was exactly the right way.
Yes.
Excuse me, I have to switch on my light. It's getting dark here now. No.
You intrigue me, Ursula, because you have been a physicist and you studied physics, and because when he is taking it to the divine world, like imagine something and feel as if you are already there, and then you magnetize
Yes.
good stuff to your life. Is it physics? Is it really physics, or is it something?
No, that's that part of physics, which is exactly beyond that border where the physicists had to acknowledge our usual approaches. They end to be valid here. It's beyond that.
And you believe in it?
I know that I'm really convinced that the methods and the approaches of physics have their limits in this world, and that the world is bigger than that.
I see. Like you're talking about the Newtonian physics, the old physics versus the...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the way physics is understood in this world today is still more or less Newtonian physics, even though practically we're applying a lot, both quantum physics as well as
Psychology.
relativity, for example. So they are exploited technologically, but they're not acknowledged in a philosophical way.
So the doctors, the medical care system, the conventional is more Newtonian. They believe in cause and effect. Thank you so much. It was fascinating to have this dimension to our conversation too. I hope you will be healthy forever and best.
I mean, I'm also intrigued by this stuff, and you can imagine that I read every book I can find, which
well, what is more
comes up new or so in this area of limits.
I agree. What is more interesting than the mystery of the healing process, how it is, and the joy when you. Thank you.